The world thought a fine could break him. The court believed $800 million would silence him. But what Ibrahim Traoré just declared has shaken the foundation of global power, and it may change the destiny of Africa forever. They thought they could silence me with a number. $800 million. A fine so staggering, so absurd, that it was meant to intimidate, to crush, to break not just my resolve, but the spirit of my nation. The so-called International Court of Justice paraded this verdict across the world stage, as though they had written history itself. They wanted headlines, they wanted fear, they wanted obedience. But what they received was none of these things, because I tell you now, their judgment does not frighten me. Their penalty does not weaken me. Their sentence does not define me. If anything, it has only revealed the truth the world must hear, that the West does not fear corruption in Africa, it fears independence. It does not fear dictators, it fears leaders who refuse to kneel. And I am here to tell them, with no hesitation, with no apology, I will never kneel. $800 million, a figure they believe can measure my defiance, a sum they believe can chain me to their courtrooms, their signatures, their false justice. But to me, it is nothing more than paper inked with arrogance. They did not fine me because I stole from my people. They did not fine me because I betrayed my nation. No, they fined me because I had the audacity to cancel the contracts that robbed Burkina Faso blind, because I stood in defense of farmers whose land had been swallowed by foreign companies, because I said that the gold, the cotton, the minerals beneath our soil belong first to the children who play on it, not to the banks of Europe or the corporations of America. That is my crime. That is why they sit in their chambers and call me guilty. But I will not attend their trial. I will not submit to their theatre of power. I will not step foot in a courtroom that has never once defended the oppressed when their backs were against the wall, because to stand before them would not be justice. It would be surrender. It would be legitimizing an institution built on the same colonial arrogance that enslaved our ancestors and stripped our continent of its dignity. And I will not do that. I will not betray those who carried chains on their wrists so that we might carry hope in our hearts today. Some will say, but Captain Traoré, what if they isolate you? What if they sanction you? What if they strip your name from the list of acceptable leaders? And my answer is simple. Let them. We have been isolated before. We have been sanctioned before. We have been erased from their books before. Yet still, Africa lives. Still, Burkina Faso breathes. Still, we rise. We are not afraid of isolation, because our strength has never come from their acceptance. Our strength comes from our people, from the young men who till the soil at dawn, from the women who carry water across miles of dry land, from the elders who whisper to us the history they tried to erase. That is my legitimacy. That is my court. That is my truth. So when they ask me to appear before the ICJ, I tell them no, not whispered in shame, not hidden in negotiation. No, loud and unshaken, I will not appear. Because the ICJ does not represent justice. It represents power. It does not protect the vulnerable. It protects the wealthy. It does not punish crimes. It punishes courage. And if courage is now my crime, then I accept the sentence with pride. This fine of $800 million is not about money. Let no one be deceived. It is about sending a message. It is about telling every African leader obey or be crushed, submit or be humiliated, sign the contract or face the courtroom. That is the message behind this ruling. They want to break not just me, but the possibility of defiance itself. They want every president, every minister, every youth with a dream of freedom to look at my punishment and say, better we stay quiet, better we obey, better we do not risk. But they miscalculated. They do not understand the spirit of our people. They do not understand that the more they try to bury us, the more we root ourselves deeper into the soil that gave us life. They do not understand that the more they threaten, the more we resist. What arrogance gives them this right? Who crowned them the arbiters of global justice? Who gave them authority over us, over our soil, over our sovereignty? Not us, not our people, not our ancestors who died for this land. Their authority is nothing but smoke, written into documents, stamped with seals, enforced by armies. But to us it is hollow. We do not see justice in their rulings. We see theft dressed as law. We see greed dressed as fairness. We see empire dressed as order. And that is why I refuse. Make no mistake, this is not just about Burkina Faso. This is about every nation that has dared to dream of standing tall without asking for permission. This is about Mali, about Niger, about Ghana, about the Congo, about all of Africa. They want to send a warning across the continent. Do not rise, do not question, do not take back what is yours. But I stand here as proof that their warnings are meaningless. If their strategy was fear, then let them fear us instead. If their weapon was money, let them choke on the knowledge that we value dignity more than dollars. If their intention was to shame me, then let my refusal echo louder than any courtroom decree. Because I am not afraid of their fines. I am afraid of only one thing: betraying my people. I am afraid of one thing: kneeling to a system that has stolen from us for generations and calling it peace. That I cannot do. That I will never do. They can take their verdict and broadcast it on every channel, print it in every paper, announce it in every hall of power, but they cannot erase the truth. And the truth is simple. Africa is rising. Burkina Faso is rising. And no court in The Hague can stop it. So hear me clearly. I will not back down. I will not apologize. I will not recognize the authority of a court that has never recognized the humanity of our people. My allegiance is not to their laws, not to their signatures, not to their illusions of power. My allegiance is to the child in a village with no textbook, to the mother who deserves medicine in her clinic, to the farmer who deserves a fair price for his harvest. My allegiance is to the people, and for them I will stand. For them I will defy. For them I will resist every decree they try to place upon my shoulders. $800 million. They think that is the price of freedom. But freedom has no price. Freedom is paid for in sacrifice, in struggle, in courage. And we are willing to pay it all. They accuse me of defiance, but I call it dignity. They accuse me of rebellion, but I call it sovereignty. They accuse me of arrogance, but I call it truth. The $800 million fine is not a punishment for crime. It is a punishment for courage. And the world must see it for what it is. Because when they place me on trial, they are not judging me alone. They are judging every African who has ever dared to stand tall. They are judging every leader who dares to put his people before profit. They are judging the very idea that Africa can rise on its own terms. That is the real case at the International Court of Justice. Not Ibrahim Traoré versus the world, but freedom versus control, independence versus obedience, dignity versus exploitation. They say their law is universal. They say their rules are impartial. They say their justice is blind. But let me ask, where was their justice when our lands were plundered for centuries? Where was their justice when millions were chained and shipped across oceans? Where was their justice when our nations were carved up in Berlin, like pieces of meat on a table? Where was their justice when puppet regimes were armed and funded to suppress their own people? Where was their justice when our leaders who dared to dream of unity, Lumumba, Sankara, Nkrumah, Gaddafi, were betrayed, assassinated and erased? Did the ICJ raise its voice then? Did it fine those who orchestrated coups, toppled governments, looted our resources? No, it was silent. Silent because its justice has never been about truth. Silent because its justice has always served power. Silent because its true role is not to protect the oppressed, but to protect the order of empire. So I do not recognize their ruling, because I do not recognize their authority. Authority that is claimed by conquest. Authority that is enforced by intimidation. Authority that is written in documents no African hand signed. They call it international law, but in truth it is colonial law wearing a new mask, and I will not submit to it. Let me tell you something about this fine. $800 million. They parade this figure as though it carries weight, as though it is the judgment of heaven itself. But what is it in reality? It is the price of cancelling contracts that bled our land dry. It is the cost of saying no to exploitation. It is the punishment for daring to declare that Burkina Faso belongs first to its people. That is the true accounting of their fine. Every dollar of that so-called penalty is proof that we have chosen independence over submission. Every cent is evidence that we have reclaimed something that was stolen. And for that reason, I do not fear it. I wear it like a medal. Because if defending my people costs $800 million, then I will pay it with pride. But understand this. This struggle is not just mine. It belongs to every African nation that has been told to sit quietly while its wealth is stolen. It belongs to every leader who has been forced into the role of gatekeeper instead of guardian. It belongs to every young African who has been told their future depends not on their talent or their land, but on the approval of foreign powers. They want my defiance to be a warning. Instead, let it be a spark. Let it light a fire in every capital, in every village, in every heart that has long grown tired of submission. Because this is not just about Burkina Faso. It is about Africa's right to choose its own path. I will not be the last leader they threaten with sanctions, with fines, with exile, with assassination. I know this, but I also know that every act of defiance weakens them. Every refusal cracks their illusion. Every stand we take makes it harder for the next leader to be silenced. They believe fear will spread, but it is courage that spreads faster, and courage, once awakened, cannot be contained. Let me speak plainly. Their problem is not Ibrahim Traoré. Their problem is a vision of an Africa no longer bound by invisible chains, a vision of an Africa that feeds itself, educates itself, heals itself, defends itself, a vision of an Africa where the wealth of our soil builds our roads, powers our factories, fills our hospitals, not foreign accounts. This is what terrifies them. Not my words, not my speeches, not my refusal to appear in their courts, but the possibility that this vision will take root, because if one nation dares to live free, others will follow. If one people refuse to kneel, others will rise, and the empire built on our submission will begin to collapse. They are not afraid of corruption in Africa. They are not afraid of tyranny. They are afraid of integrity. They are afraid of independence. They are afraid of leaders who cannot be bought and people who cannot be deceived. That is why I am fined. That is why I am summoned. That is why they seek to make me an example. But hear me well, I accept this role gladly. If they wish me to be a symbol, let me be a symbol of resistance. If they wish me to be an example, let me be an example of courage. If they wish me to be remembered, let me be remembered as the man who said no when the world demanded silence. And to the youth of Africa, hear me clearly. This fight is yours as much as it is mine, because the future they want to steal is yours. They do not fear me, they fear you. They fear your ideas, your strength, your energy, your refusal to accept the lies of the past. They want you to believe that change is impossible, that the system is eternal, that nothing can be different. But look around you. The chains are breaking. The contracts are being torn. The voices they tried to silence are echoing louder than ever. You are not servants of the old order. You are the architects of the new. This is why I cannot bow to the ICJ, because to bow to them would be to betray you. It would be to look into the eyes of a generation that dreams of dignity and say, your dreams are too dangerous, and I will never do that. I would rather face every sanction, every fine, every headline screaming against me, than betray the youth of Africa who deserve a future free of chains. So let them write their judgments in gold ink. Let them shout their rulings from their marble halls. It changes nothing. My legitimacy does not come from them. It comes from the people, from the markets of Ouagadougou, from the farms of our countryside, from the classrooms where children learn by candlelight, from the sweat, the struggle, the sacrifice of everyday citizens who demand nothing more than dignity. That is my mandate. That is my authority. That is the only court I will ever stand before. And let me say this with absolute clarity. No fine will silence me. No ruling will chain me. No court will decide my destiny. Burkina Faso's future will not be written in The Hague. It will be written in the blood, sweat, and courage of its people, and that the world cannot stop. They believe they can measure leadership in money. They believe they can weigh sovereignty in fines. They believe that by writing 800 million on a page, they have shackled me, subdued me, silenced me. But leadership cannot be priced, sovereignty cannot be fined, and dignity cannot be bought or sold. That is where their calculation fails, because while they count dollars, I count lives. While they guard profits, I guard hope. While they threaten isolation, I build community. Their entire system rests on one assumption, that we still believe in their authority. And I tell you now, that illusion is broken forever. I do not speak only as the president of Burkina Faso. I speak as a son of Africa. And Africa has been told for centuries that it is too weak to stand on its own, too divided to unite, too poor to prosper, too fragile to resist. But I say the opposite is true. We are not weak. We are unbreakable. We are not divided. We are awakening to unity. We are not poor. We are rich beyond imagination, with soil that can feed the world, with rivers that can power nations, with minerals that drive the future of technology itself. And we are not fragile. We are resilient, forged in the fire of centuries of struggle and still standing tall. They want us to doubt ourselves. They want us to see only dependency, only scarcity, only desperation. But look closer. Look at our people who, with almost nothing, build entire communities from the ground up. Look at our farmers who, without machines, still pull harvest from soil cracked by drought. Look at our youth who, with no resources, teach themselves technology, innovation, creativity. Look at our women who, denied opportunity, still carry nations on their backs. If we can do so much with so little, imagine what we can do when we claim what is ours. Imagine what we can do when the wealth of our land is invested in our people, not siphoned abroad. Imagine what we can do when our unity is stronger than their divisions. That is the future I fight for. That is the vision they fear. And so let me be absolutely clear. I will not spend my presidency traveling the corridors of Europe begging for approval. I will not waste time defending myself in courts that were never meant to defend me. I will not kneel before institutions that never once kneeled before the suffering of my people. My mission is here. My work is here. My heart is here. In Burkina Faso, in Africa, I will build schools that teach our children not to be servants of foreign systems, but to be masters of their own destiny. Schools where history is told truthfully, where identity is affirmed, where creativity is nurtured. I will build hospitals where care is not a privilege for the rich, but a right for all. Hospitals with medicine made in Africa, by Africans, for Africans. I will support farmers not with empty slogans, but with tools, irrigation, storage, fair pricing, so no child in our land ever goes to bed hungry again. I will transform our natural wealth into industries that employ our youth, empower our women, and enrich our communities, not foreign shareholders. I will not sell our future for loans we do not need, aid that insults our dignity, or contracts that mortgage our freedom. This is not a dream, this is not a fantasy. This is the path already being built. Every mine reclaimed, every contract cancelled, every road paved, every village electrified. These are the bricks of a new foundation. They say Africa must wait for progress. I say Africa has waited long enough. They say we must bow to their order. I say their order is crumbling. They say obedience is survival. I say only resistance is life. And let the world be shocked if it must. Let them ask in disbelief, how can a small nation like Burkina Faso defy the weight of global institutions? I will answer simply, because the weight of the people is greater than the weight of the world. Because no army, no court, no sanction can defeat a people who know their worth. Because the soil we stand on carries the memory of ancestors who faced chains and guns and still whispered freedom into the wind. That spirit is alive in us. That spirit is our shield. That spirit is our weapon. So to the ICJ, I say again, keep your fine, keep your verdict, keep your illusion of power. I do not recognize it. I will never recognize it. My allegiance is not to you. My allegiance is to the barefoot child walking miles to school. My allegiance is to the mother selling vegetables by the roadside to feed her family. My allegiance is to the miner who digs with his hands but dreams of a nation where his labor builds hospitals, not foreign mansions. My allegiance is to Africa and Africa alone. $800 million. That is not the price of my obedience. That is the proof of my defiance. That is the evidence of my courage. That is the mark of a leader who cannot be bought. If that is the burden history has given me, then I carry it with pride. Because what is $800 million compared to the freedom of a continent? What is $800 million compared to the dignity of a people? What is $800 million compared to the destiny of Africa? Nothing. It is nothing. And let me leave you with this. I will not back down. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. They can fine me, they can threaten me, they can isolate me, they can slander me, they can even one day kill me, but they cannot erase the truth. They cannot kill an idea whose time has come. They cannot silence a continent that has found its voice. They cannot stop the march of a people who have decided to rise. So let them write their judgments. Let them declare their punishments. Let them believe their power is eternal. It is not. The empire is falling. The illusion is breaking. The old order is dying. And in its place, a new Africa is rising. An Africa unafraid. An Africa unbent. An Africa unbroken. I, Ibrahim Traoré, stand before you today not as a defendant in their court, but as a witness of history, and I declare with every fibre of my being, I will not bow, I will not yield, I will not pay obedience for the price of $800 million, 0 cents. My loyalty is to the people, my duty is to the land, my destiny is to the future, and that future is freedom.